This podcast was made possible because of the good people at patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. Check out the Duckfeed Patreon for early access to episodes, voting to see what games Gary and Cole are going to cover, early access. I think I've already mentioned that twice, but there's just all kinds of cool stuff. Go check it out, and thank you for listening. Bye. Let her step on a duck. 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 The name's Logan. Duck. And I'm cutting trees. Whoa. Duck. Duck. The name's Logan. Duck. And I'm cutting trees. Whoa. Duck. Duck. I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, the podcast where Gary and I talk about the X-Men, the animated series, and we're back with 2 episodes. I don't even know what to call these.
There's certainly episodes of a program. Yeah, these are some weird ones.
They are.
And I think that both these episodes that we're covering today, which are Family Ties and The Lotus and the Steel, I think Family Ties seems like it's going to be cooler than it is, and then ends up sucking. And The Lotus and the Steel ends up looking like it's going to be shittier than it is, and ends up like being mediocre. Yeah, so they both kind of take 2 extremes and put them in the middle.
I gotta say, like I preferred The Lotus and the Steel just because it's so fucking bonkers what happens in it. Like, if you just told somebody this happened in real life, they would be like, "Excuse me, what are you talking about?" None of these things exist.
Yeah, it is a super weird plot, and I feel like with this show we are on like a Wolverine ascendancy. Like, Wolverine has been so good for the last few episodes and will continue to be good for a while, and I'm into him having this weird this weird little vacation to go do chores in Japan, which is like what his main vacation thing is. Like, either do chores for Inuit people or do chores. He just wants to go do chores.
Yeah.
Well, we will get to it. But these episodes both end up being pretty mediocre, but coming from different sides. Because the first one is a Magneto episode, which usually, I think that signals quality in the show. It
usually does, except this time.
It usually does. Yeah, this time we get something other than quality. And this is all the bonkers ass shit we're going to talk about in that episode is like actual comic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something else. Like, let's say the Avengers cinematic universe decided not to kill Scarlet Witch. Like, they would at some point have to, or Quicksilver, they have to at some point, because you can't deal with this kind of backstory.
No, not at all.
I like those characters. I always forget that they were raised by a human cow hybrid on a mountain, magical mountain.
Named Bova, Gary. Her name is Bova. I mean, I know we joked about this already in the last episode, but wow.
Do you think that the people just started as like an act of violence, started calling her Bova? And like at first, like for the first 5 years, she's like, it's Linda, and then eventually she's just like, okay, Bova it is.
Her real name is Esmeralda Michael Bolton, but they just call her Bova for short, is the
problem. And she was also named by that shitty He-Man villain that's the villain of that episode too. So it's like, what a dickhead name too. Like it's like when I name my Final Fantasy 1 characters like Stab and Heal, just to remember what they do. It's like just trying to keep them straight.
I am the chosen undead. Call me. I'm gonna look at the palm of my hand. Balder Side Sword.
Yeah, exactly. They call me Slash. So let's get it. Well, how are you doing, Jeremy?
I'm doing really well. Life is good. I can't really complain. We're about to start like a major remodeling project in my house. So
didn't you just fucking finish one of those, man?
Yeah, I know. It's been an ongoing process. We finished the my office, my recording studio, the stew, if you will. That reminds me of somebody wrote in that I'll need to tell you after this podcast. But anyway, but now we're doing the master bathroom and the hallway bathroom, and I'm very excited about that.
Can you like shit and piss in the master bathroom, or is it just for masturbating?
It's just
Like, why is it called that? Okay.
It's just because it's connected to the master bedroom.
Oh, what is that for?
That's where I make my kids.
Doing a little one-on-one, pair masturbating.
I don't know
if
you ever watched that MTV's Cribs, but that was actually like a line from I don't remember who it was. It had to be like Ludacris or like Exhibit or something. But he literally was like come on MTV, you can see my house. And he goes into his bedroom and points at his bed. This is where I make my kids. And I'm like, okay, cool, that's great.
It's like usually not the most noteworthy part of sex.
But it's
that you want to brag to MTV about.
It's weird that it would come from the bed, like that you think that would be interesting, because people have been having sex on just anything for time immemorial.
Oh sure, like you gotta have a couple of kitchen kids, if you're Ja Rule or Ludacris or what have you.
Kitchen kids,
Oh,
that sounds so bad.
A couple that like whatever like the kid, like that's what they make kitchen islands for, And then if you have sex on them, it feels like you're having sex at a tropical paradise.
That's why. That explains a lot about that girl that I used to date, whose name is Alexis. I guess that's probably where she.
Alexis, order me. Anyway, yeah. Let's get into it here.
Let's get into this actual show, so I don't start talking about bathroom remodeling projects.
Oh yeah, don't bore everyone with your home ownership stuff, man. Like that is like no. I'm not trying to say you specifically, but all my friends who own homes got, I would say, probably like. And this doesn't sound like a lot, but I feel like probably literally without exaggeration, about 5% more boring as soon as they had a house, because they started talking about like washers and dryers and shit.
Oh yeah, dude, it's insane.
Like seriously,
I could put this entire podcast audience to sleep right now. Like I spent a good hour at a place called Southern Kitchen picking out like fixtures, like debating over the merits of one faucet versus another.
It's like it turns everybody into like the engineers behind Apple, where like they have to look at iOS upgrades where it's like, this app now has beveled edges as opposed to square edges. This keyboard has, rounded edges as opposed to hexagonal edges. Like, it makes everybody concerned with minutia that doesn't matter. And like, my buddy who owned a house, I went and visited him, and then the next day he had like his first like inaugural kind of barbecue. At the house, which was very fun, and like we had grilled food, and it was nice. But also, it meant that like I had to hear about. He bought this like washer and dryer, and I had to hear about it and hear him tell it to like
60 different
like
people.
10, 12.
Yeah,
10, 12 different times during that night, and that's just when I happened to be nearby. To hear him talk about this washer and dryer, and I just wanted to like pull him aside and be like, "My friend, I'm not gonna let you do this." I'm telling you, like nobody cares except for the people at houses were like, "Oh yeah, like where'd you get that?" Like,
does it is a thing. Your phone? Does it alert you? Does it automatically unlock the front door for you?
Yeah,
who's your service provider?
People just got once you have a house, you just become very interested in that kind of stuff, and just to the rest of the world, just letting you know while you're on the other side, the rest of the world doesn't work.
Yeah, that's why couples can't be friends with single people. Homeowners cannot be friends with apartment dwellers. Like, it just doesn't work. They're basically fundamentally incompatible with one another.
It's extremely difficult. You end up like talking about like my buddy who has a house, who's owned a house longer than like anyone I know. Like every time I come over there, like at some point I had to be like, okay, and then just like direct the conversation somewhere else, like very, very intentionally, because I'm being shown work he wants to do around the house. It's like giving yourself like another job or giving yourself a hobby.
Oh, absolutely! It's like an involuntary hobby. Like I'm very excited for my little Christmas break that I'm going to get this year, because it's going to give me the opportunity to clean out the garage and build a shelving system. That's how And Gary, I'm telling that story, and like you can hear the smile on my face. I'm sure it's coming through the mic. Like, I am genuinely excited about it. This is not a goof. This is not a goof. I wanted to do it over the Labor Day break, but Autumn was like, "No, let's go have fun instead. Let's not spend all weekend dealing with this bullshit." And I was like, "Okay, fine, but I'm definitely doing it for Christmas."
Yeah, well, that's, it's all well and good. Whereas me and my fellow apartment dwellers are going to go throw water balloons full of mustard off the overpass. That's what we're doing this Christmas break because we got apartments, motherfucker, and we're badass.
Did you just expose yourself as a member of the notorious gang, the Mustard Throwers?
We're the mustard men. We all rent and we love to throw mustard. Those are the two things we have in common.
You live in Portland, so you have to be filling up those those balloons with Dijon mustard because you got to keep the quality high.
It's really
Dijon mustard.
Well, most of the work is creating the mustard from scratch and then rendering the balloons. So it's a real week-long process.
Let's get this an X-Men because I could do this all day.
Family ties. That's what it's called, family ties. X Factor's Quicksilver and his sister, the Avenger called Scarlet Witch, seek revenge against Magneto when they learn that he was responsible for their birth mother's death. But the trio is unaware of the common bond between them, nor the purposes of the mysterious man who brought them all together. See, that doesn't sound cool?
It sounds like a pretty good premise. And I like that we get like a brief glimpse into X Factor, like again, because they showed up in that one episode. So like Forge giving orders to Quicksilver or whatever, while Quicksilver sits in his like HQ.
Quicksilver is the Jubilee of X Factor, is what we're getting from this.
Who is the Gambit?
That's got to be Madrox.
Oh, absolutely.
So Quicksilver's hanging out in that pod. Kind of just reporting into Forge that everything's okay on their base, I suppose. And Scarlet Witch interrupts. It says, "Father's in trouble." And Quicksilver's like, "Oh, I told you never to use the X Factor emergency line."
She said, "Bitch, I'm an Avenger. Fuck off with your X Factor line."
You're a little mini superhero team.
Do you see this A on my chest? Do you think that it stands for on hold calling? No. Quicksilver gets into action here. Yeah, he because he's the fastest man alive, he immediately jumps into a jet and flies somewhere wherever Scarlet Witch is. It's fascinating to me watching the show, like when they decide to use their powers for transportation versus not use their powers for transportation.
Yeah. Every once in a while, you'll have Rogue like sitting on the wing of a plane, but other times you'll just have her like getting into a car like a person,
or flying to Scotland,
or sometimes just like landing in Scotland in the air. Yeah, it reminds me of toys. Whenever they'd have like the Flash or Quicksilver, they have the line of toys where they all have a vehicle, and they had like the Flash, and it'd be like a cargo van with like Flash symbols and stuff. I'm like, the Flash isn't driving that fucking cargo van.
In case the Flash needs to help his buddy move, he's gonna get a cargo van.
It's a side gig. So he gets in the jet to go see his sister. We get to their father, and this is their wizard father on his deathbed, and says like, "Hey, I'm not your real dad. I'm not your bio dad."
This is just some rando, but he says, some woman was delivered these two babies to our front door, and we did not ask questions. And you can, like, as it's playing in the flashback, he's not describing her as like a cow person, but she is 100% a cow person. And Gary, I was not expecting a cow person to be delivering these babies. I had a flashback.
Like that's like the noteworthy part of all this, that they're really, like nobody stops to question that they're human cow hybrids. In this whole episode.
Where did you come from? Who are you?
As the show gets further in, one thing that I've legit noticed, and I talked about this a little bit, I think last episode, but like it gets more and more incomprehensible to people who don't know the comics, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I can't watch it through that lens, but like I feel like the early episodes, they go to the premise that like the trouble of setting things up. And now they no longer set things up. So like this you just accept, like, not only do they not reintroduce who Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch even are in this,
they just expect you to know.
Yeah, Scarlet Witch has never appeared in this show.
Quicksilver, who was there for one episode.
Once. Yeah, one episode. Not only that, but it's like they're just like they're human, Wundagore Mountain is just an accepted thing, and these human animal hybrids are just an accepted thing. Very, very strange.
So yeah, their dad dies after delivering this information. In our next scene, Magneto just shows up in Xavier's bedroom, having having snuck past all the security in the X Mansion. Which Magneto, if you could have done that before now. My favorite scene in this though is Wolverine is the one on duty, and Xavier of course asks, and Magneto kind of points to a security camera, and Wolverine is just sitting in the chair being electrocuted constantly. And Xavier just is like, oh shit, just flips that motherfucker off and just has a conversation.
It's so good. I was laughing at this note. It's like setting Wolverine to electrocute. That is the setting they put Wolverine on. He's like in a chair, just being zapped for eternity. It is really good.
Poor Wolverine, and Xavier just gives no fucks. He just literally turns the fucking TV off and has a conversation with Magneto. Well, guess he's done.
I can do.
One less car I got to buy this year.
I wonder if Sabretooth is doing anything. Like, hurt that guy. It literally happens on a TV. Like, it is very, very good. Like there's a channel for it. You just turn on the Eternal Torment channel. Oh man.
Is this Magneto's new voice actor? Like, is he different? Because he sounds much different. He sounds like he's going between accents for some reason. Got it during the episode.
I didn't really notice, and to let everyone know, we were intending to record this earlier and didn't. So I didn't get a chance to rewatch these before we recorded this time. I watched them a couple of weeks ago and don't remember that level of detail. If so, it's a bummer because I like Wolverine, or I like Magneto's voice actor.
Yeah.
But I didn't notice it, so it can't be that much of a bummer.
Sure.
Magneto is here to tell Charles, like, hey, the reason why I infiltrated your... You also could have just called, dude.
The reason why, like, anything besides electrocute Wolverine.
The reason why I infiltrated your security and set your bodyguard to electrocute is because, hey, like, my wife might be alive. Xavier and to, whenever they show their friendship, I really like this. Xavier realizes that's serious shit. Like, Xavier's just like, oh, well, I understand, why you have to do this. You realize this might be a trap. Magneto says, like, of course it's a trap. I don't care if it's a trap. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, if there's any chance she's still alive, I got to go for it. And everybody gets each other. Xavier gets this.
Yeah.
Which I really appreciate.
Which is nice. Like, it's nice that they could put aside their differences of global terrorism and talk about his ex-wife.
the different approaches to global terrorism that they both want to take.
Hey guys, do you know there's still mutants in chains in Genosha, right? I just want to bring that up again. I'm feeling like fucking Bernie Sanders over here trying to get a point across. CNN just listen to me once, just for 10 minutes. Yeah, so Xavier decides to help him, and Wolverine comes in, and Wolverine is very, very not happy about all of this. Well, he yells, I mean, having just been electrocuted by Magneto, he maybe just, justifiably distrust Magneto a little bit.
Well, yeah, and just like their entire history. Like Wolverine is the voice of reason, continuing his all-star status for like most of this season. Just like, hey, like this guy also tries to fuck shit up. So he's going to follow Magneto, and Xavier kind of sends him to do this. Mm-hmm. Xavier is on board with his, following Magneto. He doesn't sneak off. It's like, hey, make sure he's safe. So it puts Wolverine in this weird situation where Wolverine is kind of like a bodyguard for Magneto during this episode.
Yeah, and
he's the only X-Men who really is like in it very much until kind of the end. But it's mostly like Wolverine and like the Magneto children, the Magneto family.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty much it until we get to where we're just about to meet the High Evolutionary, a villain that I don't really know a lot about from the comics, but whose whole steez seems to be building weird creatures and populating like this little area in Wonderfall? What was the name of this?
Wondergore Mountains, which is based on like I think a real mythological place.
Okay.
Or some kind of real place. Like some of the stuff that happens in Wondergore Mountains is just like Chris Claremont being a dorky European folklore buff kind of thing. So this is all based on real folklore. It doesn't make it any more cool though. At all. Like heaven forfend anyone think that like just because it's based in real life, this is a cool location. It is pretty silly. And the way we're introduced to the High Evolutionary, so like Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch arrive at the highest point of Wundagore Mountain to look for their cow woman midwife, Bova. And they're greeted by the High Evolutionary, who like is kind of acting like a doorman. Here, like, you know, we find out he's the villain of this, and he is an X-Men villain, and like Avengers villain, whose thing is like messing around with evolution and genetics.
Yeah.
But I've always hated his design. I think the High Evolutionary looks really bad. I think he looks like a He-Man villain a little bit to me, without the body proportions. But like
he looks very much
He-Man
like
villain armor.
A design dictated by plastic toys that somebody was creating. Like we have extra purple chest. What can we do with it?
Yes. Give it to the High Evolutionary, which is like such a dumb name. And with this whole thing where he's just like, you know, I think you're spies. We need to let you in. And there's this whole like what felt like a couple minute long scene of them verifying Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch's identity.
Yeah,
that's like a real weird pacing.
Using a DNA thing that doesn't, and that never comes up again. Like you would assume that he could just tell because nobody else would wear Quicksilver's outfit on Earth.
Or just like you already let them in and stuff. Like it is a weird like why there's this security at Wundagore Mountain. Like he's the governing body, but he's also answering the door. You know, there's a lot. Just kind of it's pretty hard to understand what the day-to-day of Wundagore Mountain is. But they get cleared, and it feels like Bova's running the shots. Like they meet Bova there, who is a cow woman who's just like straight up talking to them, and they don't blink about this. And Bova, you know, knew their mom, but not their dad. Their mom was on the run from a crazy mutant, had the kids, and then died because of winter weather from like exposure, or something like that.
And I think I have in here that Bova says that Magneto is their father, but that's actually wrong. I wrote that note down incorrectly. Yeah. It's actually, they just say that Magneto is the one that was responsible for, it was the crazy mutant that she was on the run from.
Yes, and they kind of presume that she died from him, but they don't know. They don't really know. I said exposure, but that's not what it is. They think that it's Magneto.
I don't want to derail us too much, Gary, but can I read you a sentence from the Wundagore Mountain Wikipedia?
Oh, please.
As for Man Beast, he created new men of his own to terrorize the world called Counter Earth.
Oh my god.
The High Evolutionary's ally, Adam Warlock, devolved all of these new men on Counter Earth back to their original forms.
Oh, what comic did this stuff take place in?
I had no idea. I don't know. This may be a Thor comic or something, is what they have referenced.
Yeah, this is disappointing.
This is really bad.
It looks like the references, it's like they're in lots of stuff. So there's Thor, there's Fantastic Four. They ended up in lots of stuff. So it's only really tied to the X-Men through Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
This is mostly like, you know, general Marvel universe, like kind of Avengers stank.
But yeah, the Man Beast created the new men. Which is my new documentary on VH1 behind the music.
He sure did. The other connection too is that like High Evolutionary ends up being involved somehow with Mr. Sinister because they do similar stuff. Yeah.
I feel like they would have met on like a similar message board at some point.
Yeah, exactly, on r/genetics.
On r/genetics, exactly. So yeah, they find out
gray DNA.
They find out the story about their mom having been killed by Magneto, and High Evolutionary basically tells them like, yeah, we know exactly where he's going to be. We could just take you to him right now, and like all of his weird like dog soldier guys, dog warrior guys, like just show up and like, okay, let's go to the cemetery or whatever.
I think that those guys might be called the Knights of Wundagore. I know the Knights of Wundagore are a thing, and I think it is like human animal hybrid knights.
Good,
because they are wearing like those like shitty costumes, right? If I recall. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not good. None of this has been good.
So Magneto shows up to the cemetery and finds like who he believes to be Magda. You know, who is his ex-wife, who won't reveal her face, but has this like huge bulky form, and then turns out to be like a cow woman in a robe. Sure, reveals herself to another cow human hybrid.
Not again, says Magneto. You got me again.
It keeps happening. I keep getting cowfished. Like, so the plan here, so Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch show up, and they're like, their idea is to get revenge here against Magneto. because they think it is. And this whole time Wolverine is like just kind of watching from the side of the cemetery, like kind of creeping during this fight with the dog soldiers, Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, and Magneto here. And like it's okay. I like seeing Quicksilver's powers in action, but I expected a little bit more from this fight.
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect from this fight. I do like that Wolverine says,
"You ought to see it, Hank. It's the blasted island of Dr. Moreau."
I just have to assume that Beast taught him that reference and didn't actually teach him anything about it.
Wolverine just asked to read the book with the Animal Man. Again, like, can you read me the Animal Man story, Beast? And Beast reads to him at night.
Wolverine all crying at the end of Charlotte's Web.
And truly they were little women.
So of course, like Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch with the Knights of Wondergore. Jesus Christ, I can't believe I just said that out loud. The KOW, I guess is what you would call them. They win, like they attack Magneto and they're able to restrain him, and that of course means that the Knights of Wondergore then turn on Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, because that's what they're there to do, is capture all three of these. Surprise! Yes. A guy named the High Evolutionary is a bad guy. What a twist!
Yeah. His plan is so stupid. Like we'll get to it, but his plan is so. It's ridiculous.
So stupid that I'm hoping that I wrote it down in my notes because I don't remember because it's been a week.
I remember it. Okay. Yeah, it is real silly. So of course they didn't count on Wolverine there. So Wolverine kind of attacks the group a little bit more fight, and Magneto gets loose in this. And Magneto, they're winning the fight at this point because you don't fuck around with Magneto. But then someone gasses them and they all pass out. So,
yep.
I don't know why they didn't just gas everybody in the first place, but here we are.
Seems like a way easier thing to do if you could have just gassed Magneto without involving Quicksilver, or just gas Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch way back when when they gave you some of their DNA without question.
And then have your cow wife. In the cemetery, just like open a briefcase full of gas on Magneto or something. Like
she's my cow, Mistress Scary, please.
Yeah, your weekend cow, your cow piece. Yeah, I wish that was the canon, that Magneto had sex with a cow, and that's how all this happened.
That's how Quicksilver came to life. No wonder he's so fucked up.
And Scarlet Witch, and like he was just as indignant and like haughty about it as he is about everything. It's like, don't knock it, Charles.
I love her, Charles. I love her.
Charles, just because my wife lacks opposable thumbs doesn't make her any less. You sound like a human.
She's smarter than the average human, Charles.
Goes human, cow, mutant.
The cow really skips a generation in this family. That's how the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver look normal humans.
And that's why Avengers Disassembled happened, is because when Scarlet Witch had her kids, they were human cow hybrids.
Mm-hmm.
And she couldn't handle
cows, and the beef industry collapsed.
Oh, man. So Xavier and Beast show up. They're like tracking Wolverine, because this is like a thing that happens a lot in the show too, where they send one person to go do something and then kind of arbitrarily decide to send the rest of the team in.
Yeah, they're doing it more and more in these later episodes, where they just divide up the teams for like, and the ones that I just got finished watching
for cheapness.
Yeah, I think so they don't have to animate people all at the same time, or like remember who's in a scene wearing what outfit.
Come up with stuff for them to do. Mm-hmm. So Xavier and Beast are getting the Blackbird because they no longer have contact with Wolverine, so they're gonna show up, and they meet Magneto, and Magneto explains Wondergore Mountain, essentially magical mountain where there are these human animal hybrids because of this thing called the High Evolutionary. I don't know if he names the High Evolutionary, but my understanding is I don't know that Wondergore Mountain is special, other than that the High Evolutionary is there creating monsters.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a Savage Land situation, except the high Evolutionary is the one that's like causing it to be a fertile valley as opposed to just a desolate place. Which I guess everywhere in Trisnia is. I just found out that the Wondergore Mountain is in Trisnia.
Is it Trisnia or I thought it was Transia.
Tomato, dog. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It doesn't matter. It's a made up Marvel Universe country. So we find out that we switch over to the High Evolutionary and we learn his plan, which is just to keep doing what he's doing, but do it quicker.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't need them in order to like make experiments in genetics and make human animal hybrids, because he's been doing that, since Bova, since Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver were kids, so at least 40 years. So he's been doing this for a long time. He just wants them to do it quicker, and literally what he wants Quicksilver there for is to do the assembly line stuff faster. He's just trying to make the Magneto family workers.
It's such a
Scarlet
dumb
Witch
plan.
will change the probability, Quicksilver will move the pans quicker, and then Magneto will also probably move the pans quicker.
Yeah, Magneto is in QA, so he's gonna fuck every cow human hybrid to make sure that it's breedable.
It's my cross to bear, Charles.
It's what I deserve.
I accept it with dignity. So it is, his plan is extremely dumb. It is one of the dumbest plans that we've had on the show. Not quite Purple Man dumb, but pretty dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the one who just kind of drops hey, Magneto is your real dad. And Quicksilver freaks out because, of course, he can't accept that because he thinks Magneto killed his mom, and also Magneto is a huge villain.
Yes. And he's not only a good guy in this timeline, so
yes,
he's at least working for one of the terrorist organizations that has the government's blessing.
Yeah, at any given time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, this is also where High Evolution puts Wolverine into to some weird chamber and evolutionizes him to be Wolfman from that Jack Nicholson movie.
Jack Nicholson's wolf. It turns him into a werewolf kind of creature.
Yeah, with metal claws, I should add. So.
Yeah, so he's still Wolverine, but kind of a Wolverine wolf hybrid character they created that there is an action figure of. You can find an action figure of this guy, which is real weird. So Xavier and Beast show up, and they're okay, well, we're going to attack the Citadel, help everybody out. Where are the rest of your X-Men? You're literally your best X-Men has been compromised, and now you are just planning an assault with the guy who is in a wheelchair, and then Beast. So weird.
It's really weird. You didn't want to bring Gambit or the Weather Witch or your super strong Rogue or Cyclops that shoots eye beams or literally anybody that's more useful than Xavier, who is, again, he's not the greatest telepath on Earth. He's the strongest telepath on Earth. Yeah,
strongest telepath on Earth. And then just Beast, who is can do stuff that is entirely overshadowed by Rogue. And just why not both? Bring in an assault force here if you're afraid Wolverine's been compromised. What a slap in the dick to Wolverine. You just bring the B team when I get kidnapped. We bring the entire team when Jean gets kidnapped. The fuck? You know
how many times I've saved that Cajun? God damn it,
Charles! What is he doing? So pretty ridiculous. I feel hopefully we have at least one more Gambit episode left in the sack, because he hasn't done very much. He does a lot during the Christmas thing. But,
I was about to say the Christmas episode. He really
that is a highlight.
Shines.
Yeah, that B plot is extremely good.
But man, it's some of my favorite shit in the world. Yeah. Let's just talk about that. Let's end this. Talk about that.
Just switch over. Cut to Christmas.
So Xavier and Beast show up, and then there's this huge fight because all of these Knights of Wondergore fly around on flying robot bird things,
they're flying robot horse things too. That seem like they're the same things that the Age of Apocalypse, the Horsemen have.
Yeah, it's really strange.
The same technology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which I guess may be a reason that him and Sinister hang out, because they all buy their robotic horses from Sinister. Maybe.
Yeah. So Magneto finds out what happened to the twins initially, that they was kidnapped. He finds out that there were kids here, I think, at this point. And now he becomes very mad and says, well, now I'm actually mad. I'm going to take this seriously, and just breaks out of his chains there. Does that seem consistent with Magneto's characterization that he would just allow himself to be captured until he gets mad enough to escape?
Absolutely not. That's a seems like he's usually so haughty and arrogant about this stuff, and much more of a your chains cannot possibly hold me type of dude than I'm going to wait and bide my time and for an opportunity to strike. He's just not that dude.
Yeah, it's pretty rough characterization here, and he carries the twins outside, where there's monster people on flying horses that carry jousting sticks like lances and stuff. So it is really doing that knights medieval thing, but it's mixed with technology and animals. It is just a real whatever Chris Claremont happened to be into that day. kind of thing.
I hate this. I hate the design of all of this. I hate the way it looks. I don't
It's real
I don't
bad.
like the idea behind this. Like, why do you have Joust? You're apparently superior animal man hybrids. Like, why do you need a Joust? Which we haven't.
That's how you
used
tell
in
they're
400
superiors.
years.
How good they are at jousting. And I keep pitting this on Chris Claremont. And actually, the more I think about it, it's probably like Roy Thomas or something. It's probably a weird 70s Avengers writer who is probably responsible for this shit. Because this even feels weirder than Chris Claremont stuff.
Yeah,
You know?
I could be with you on that. This definitely feels like what is going on in this comic book. Nobody is actually reading this stuff before it goes to print.
Yeah, I do not know. So like, the thing. There's a fight. Wanda gets knocked out of the sky, lands on a flying horse, saves Quicksilver, and now we actually have our kind of big climactic fight.
Which looks pretty good from an animation perspective. These episodes, as we get closer and closer to the end of the series, these episodes start having some major problems with the art. Everybody's faces look real bad almost all the time. But like, this actually looks good. Like everything is just kind of like well animated for once. Like, I don't have any complaints about it. And then Wolverine shows up in full like wolfed out mode and just like. I don't know, man. Like, it's just a big fight, and Wolverine is just the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Why would you make this? This is a terrible thing to make.
I don't know. You got a note here, and again, I didn't watch it again to remind myself. So forgive me. But the note here says he throws out of his chair. I'm pretty sure he knocks Charles Xavier out of his chair.
I think that's what I meant to say. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he just like dumps. If I remember, he like picks up and just kind of like shakes him out like he's getting the receipts at the bottom of a recycling bin to fall out.
Like she's going for all of Xavier's quarters.
every like evolution themed villain in the X-Men just wants to make monsters. Like, there's no science at all. It's just experimenting with, like, what if we just cross this DNA with this DNA and create this? You know, like, none of them seem scientific or like they have a real end.
Yeah, it's not even like I want to create the most perfect woman or anything like that, or I want to create the most perfect man. It's just I want to see what happens when I touch these things together. Like, let's see if it catches on fire or ends the world.
And like, this is not we also had the Savage Land mutates, which Magneto created somehow. You know, and that never comes up in this. Like, you know, he should be like, I've dabbled in the art of making monsters myself. You know,
yeah, your work is much inferior to mine. Let me bring you down to Australia sometime.
Yeah, we'll take you down to the Savage Land, and that would be great. Like, stick High Evolutionary there, and just kind of quarantine all this shit on that island, and never show it to me again.
I'm also upset because this ends in the most anticlimactic fashion ever, right? Like,
I barely even remember.
Yeah, so the High Evolutionary like retreats into his temple fortress thing on the top of the mountain, and Quicksilver and Magneto try to get in, and they get like knocked back by a force field, and then this motherfucker, the whole fortress just turns into like a spaceship. All of the knights of whatever the fuck just get teleported back on the ship, and the dude jets, and that is it.
Just the villain runs away. You'll be seeing my adventures once a week as I continue to fight the X-Men.
Yeah, catch me next week in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, like he's doing a tour of Saturday morning. Yeah, this is, and at this point, Magneto, the emotional core of this, the idea is that Magneto and Quicksilver have like teamed up, like they've recognized, like that they're fathers, or that they're family. It doesn't really work, but that's the idea. And Magneto is like, hey, you know, I didn't know that you were my kids. Now that I do, like, let's spend some time together. And Quicksilver's like, no, you're still a supervillain. And that's really kind of how the episode ends.
Magneto points
kind
at
of
the asteroid M in the sky and says, "That's where I make my kids."
Yeah, it's fine. I'll make more. Come on, Bova.
To me, my Bovas.
I should make a new Quicksilver. Yeah.
And this is basically it. Like, Beast does some bullshit like quotes from something or another that I've got in here that I'll probably just cut in if the audio clip is funny enough.
Quote Isaac Watts, "Time, like an ever-rolling stream, bears all its sons away. They fly forgotten as a dream dies at the opening of day."
And then that's it. Magneto just leaves. They don't even... Like, Magneto is a criminal. Like, do you remember when he, like, stole, like, just a ton of shit and, like, almost
nukes and...
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, and attacked Congress and all these things. I remember the Magneto that had the spark for sure.
Young Magneto.
My God. Yeah, pretty rough stuff that, I guess like the best will in the world, like Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are tangentially related to the X-Men. Doing an episode that focuses on them makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Doing an episode that focuses on their like relationship to Magneto makes sense. It's just a shame that that's so ridiculous.
And it's a shame that it's just got so much cow fucking in it. Like we didn't really talk about it, but what we talked about was probably 10 minutes. The rest of it is just a cow person fucking. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of cum shots. It's an extremely weird choice for them. Like they have to pad it out somewhere. If it's not a time travel episode, and they can't, just show things again. They just show stock footage of men having sex with cows in black and white, and just pass it off as Magneto.
Sure, yeah. Just put a wig on him. Make his hair white. Yeah, that was a terrible episode. And the next one is like you said, I guess mediocre is probably the best you could say about it.
Yeah, this one. So this is we're going to the next episode here. The Lotus and the Steel. Finding himself continually losing control, Wolverine takes a sabbatical to Japan in an effort to find inner peace in temple building. Instead, he faces a village under siege by a group of bandits and struggles to help them without compromising his search for his true nature. So this feels like another one of those, like, this is probably based on some old Western. Yeah. This is like probably like Shane or something like the movie, where this guy comes into town and finds out that there's these, gang members like ravaging this village. I feel like that's probably what happened maybe in Seven Samurai, something like that. But this ends up being like way sillier.
Yeah, because it's the X-Men, and the X-Men can't do anything just halfway. They gotta yank the knobs off of it and take it to 11.
Indeed.
It's so ridiculous. I do like the way it starts out, which is
me too.
Interviewing Logan, because if you remember the last episode that we recorded, Proteus really fucked Wolverine up. Like Wolverine was basically turned inside out, like mentally and physically by Proteus, and was real shaken at the end of that episode, and kind of in awe of Professor Xavier. But yeah. Now he's still kind of fucked up about it, and Xavier's trying to interview him to try to figure out what it is.
Yeah, so he's doing therapy with him, which is ostensibly the reason why Logan's here. Like Wolverine, Professor Xavier's supposed to be helping him kind of control himself, and he's been slipping. We get a lot of flashbacks of just kind of general trauma with Wolverine. So like the Proteus encounter, which just happened, his Weapon X stuff, Sabretooth, his things with Maverick, his issue with Jean Grey, and he's saying like it's not those things. It's the fact that I found this family, I found the X-Men, they gave me a reason not to act like an animal, but I'm losing it. Like that reason's not there anymore. And he's like flashing back to like he was riding around with Jubilee, and they're just kind of joyriding, hanging out, and some kid cut him off, and he's like, yeah, I almost killed this kid, and then Jubilee tried to step in, and I almost killed Jubilee. Like he's losing it. He's going into berserker mode. And again, like I'm always here for consequences, right? Like he got torn in half a bunch of times by Proteus. It fucked him up, and now we have to deal with fallout from that, which is a good storytelling thing. Like I think that's good.
Yeah, this is all really really good. I think having Wolverine, because I would imagine that Wolverine is a very fragile creature on the inside. Like the way that he's built up these mental blocks with Xavier's help over the years to try to like help him contain and get a handle on his crazy ass memories for his like 400 years he's been on Earth or whatever. I know it's not that long, but you know what I'm saying. You would think that him being turned inside out would actually have this effect where he would start losing control. He would not be able to control his anger like he was up to this point. So, especially when it comes out against Jubilee, where he's worried about hurting Jubilee, and at the very least yelling at her, which he pretty much does constantly throughout this episode every time she shows up. He decides he's going to jet back to Japan, where there's an old sensei or something. I don't really understand the relationship, but sure, we'll go with it.
Anything that, like, whenever Wolverine's going back to Japan, like we just know it's going to be, he's going to go meet an ex-girlfriend or something that has something going on. That doesn't happen here, but that's why it makes sense. It feels like, okay, he's going to go back and deal with, another girl that maybe either her father is a crime lord or got turned into a death strike or something like that. We're not sure.
Yeah.
Really, though, he's going back to Japan because he wants to go do labor. He essentially does these sabbaticals in order to go like carry gigantic cords of wood for villagers. If you recall the Inuit village, that is what he likes to do.
He does. He was catching a lot of fish.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, he caught all those fish. He was building all this temple. Like he just kind of comes in as a one-man workforce for these places.
I'm just remembering the time with the Inuit people where he gets bounced up and down so much, and he's just like,
yeah. A couple, like, I would love to do a supercut of just like Wolverine in absolute ecstasy. The times it happens in this show. You know, like where it's like him, like just smiling, looking at Morph doing impersonations, or him bouncing on the thing. Like he's a very simple man.
He really is, yeah, and it's good. It's good for him.
Yeah, I like that he likes his thing.
Before we get to Japan, though, we have this weird scene where he's looking in the mirror as he's packing, and Nightcrawler is talking to him and telling him that, hey, you need to do what you got to do, bub, or whatever. And then
he says something about religion, like he says something about faith. Yeah. And
Nightcrawler then turns into Sabretooth, which infuriates Wolverine, so he smashes the mirror, and I'm like, dude, how much stuff do you break in a given day? What is...
That's why he only gets a motorcycle in payment, because he takes half of it in repairs and half of it in vehicle. It's extremely silly.
Yeah.
And then Jubilee shows up, and she's just like, "Hey, what's happened?" You know, Jubilee is not traumatized by almost being killed somehow. Doesn't even seem to remember it. And Wolverine kind of yells at her. It's very similar to like, go on, get. Like, I don't need you. I'm going to hurt you. Go, boy. Go, run, Lassie. That kind of thing.
What do you think happened at the end of Lassie? Did you just have a really dark version of this? You had Twilight Zone Lassie or something?
I've been reading the books.
The books go into dark places, don't they?
The LEU. And in the LEU, they talk about kind of that dark ending. Yeah, what was I thinking of? Like Old Yeller? Something where, like, a kid tells an animal to run away. That happens in Game of Thrones. Like, I don't know.
Never Ending Story does that, right?
With the horse?
With the horse?
That drowns? Yeah, he just kind of drowns his horse.
Doesn't he make Falcor leave at some point?
Maybe. But Falcor's not going to leave. Like, Falcor knows what's up. I don't know. There's anywho, I don't remember. But everybody, I feel like people know the trope. He's treating Jubilee like a dog and trying to get her to leave.
Sure.
And she's just very, very loyal. So he leaves without her, and the music, Eastern music that came with GarageBand to teach you how to mix plays as he arrives at like an ancient village, essentially. Yep. Like he not only traveled across the country or traveled across the world, but also seemingly across time as he goes to ancient Japan.
And this is that good work montage where we see him like rebuilding stuff and, putting in bricks, lifting up logs. Yep. Like Wolverine loves to do some fucking physical labor, man. That is what he is into.
Yeah. It makes it's, and I sometimes if I'm stressed out, like doing some labor, cleaning or something like that will feel good.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. No,
the village elder, not the village elder, excuse me. His sensei, the master, I think is what they call him, brings him down to the village for a feast, and like everyone's just kind of staring at him, like, "Who the fuck are you?" And Wolverine asks the master,
"They don't seem too friendly. What did I step on a duck?"
And I'm like, "What?"
so you know what stepping on a duck is, right? It's like an old timey term for farting.
Is it really? I've never heard that in my life.
Like it makes that like kind of quack. I'm pretty sure that stepping on a duck means farting.
So Wolverine is asking if he farted so bad the entire village hated him. Is that?
Yeah, it is. So Rodney Dangerfield says, like, did somebody step on a duck? It's in Caddyshack. Is when it pops up. But yeah, the sound of a particular. Here's the Urban Dictionary thing. The sound of a particular fart caused by overly compressed butt cheeks. This will occur due to the person attempting to slip out a silent squeaker so as not to draw attention to itself. Odds are a quack-like sound will result from this expulsion. There will always be at least one person who will notice and call you out immediately. And the example is, "Wow, dude, did you step on a duck? Nice one." So thanks, and that was written by Jersey Quacker, who does all the duck related Urban Dictionary things apparently.
What a and lives in New Jersey. Don't forget about that.
Yeah, he's got two things. But yeah, Wolverine comes to this village, and when everyone doesn't immediately love him, he's like, "What did I fart? Like, don't you understand? I come to other cultures to do their chores. Like, what don't you get?" So it is extremely and just that making its way in there. But I love it when Wolverine uses old timey slang.
Absolutely,
yeah.
I did not realize
makes so much sense.
I didn't realize that was old timey slang. So this is just an absolute delight for me.
Yeah,
it just makes me think that he has cleared out a whole village before by stepping on a duck.
We haven't dealt with Wolverine's farts before in this episode, but that's gotta be a thing, right? Like everybody lives together, everybody's hanging out in that room,
Mm-hmm.
And Wolverine, I bet you doesn't have like the healthiest diet. I imagine it's all like entirely raw red meat.
He's never had to. He's never had to go to a doctor before. Of course, he's just eating the most terrible shit in the world, and he's just keeping those abs, right? Like that's exactly what he's doing.
A healing factor means that you can eat whatever you want, I imagine, but it also doesn't mean that you're not going to have like really, really terrible gas. So I imagine out of everybody in the mansion, the person who's dropping the most, most foul air is probably Wolverine.
Surprisingly, though, it's Jubilee.
Yeah, it'd be amazing. Just like, oh my god, Wolverine stepped on a duck. I almost killed her. Gotta help me, Chuck.
So Wolverine meets the village elder along with the village elder's daughter. Who's very
the
cute.
immediate love interest for this 20-minute cartoon,
and never again. I think her name is Kasara. I never found out who her brother is, but her brother is kind of squeals up on a motorcycle and is like, "We got to do something about," starts yelling at him, and Wolverine kind of.
It is so similar to the Inuit Village episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like there's like the one hot shot, he's like, it's just like, and Wolverine is just like, "Oh, I've been here before." It feels like,
So Wolverine is like about to step in and try to get involved, and then realizes like, no, I'm here. This is none of my business. I need to just focus on me for a while, and so decides to go in the woods and cuts down some trees using his claws, which is just funny to me for some reason. But
yeah, I love it.
That's not the best part, because when he chops down this tree, Silver Samurai just shows up, just out of nowhere. Silver Samurai
apparates into the world. He like teleports in like a ghost. Pretty ridiculous, and Silver Samurai, who are you? They do this thing.
Timber! Darida, mutant. What are you doing here? The name's Logan, and I'm cutting trees.
It's like, my name's Logan, and I'm cutting trees. Extremely good. And they kind of like saber rattle a little bit.
Yeah.
At each other, and somewhere in here, Jubilee shows up.
We're not quite there yet. Wait, yeah, I'm sorry. We see Jubilee flying having stolen a plane and flying to her.
Yeah. So just so we know that she's on her way, because we're still dealing with Silver Samurai stuff here, because like a gang of like 50s motorcycle toughs that Silver Samurai owns shows up at the village. And like Silver Samurai runs like this gang of like West Side Story-esque gang, like 50s gang members.
I always thought that dudes that went around in like a crotch rocket motorcycle gang were like cool dudes, but now that I know that they look up to dudes that look like Silver Surfer, I don't think any of them are cool.
I think we probably said Silver Surfer like 1,000 times.
Oh my god, Silver Samurai. Yeah.
No, it's okay. I'm sure I've done it as well.
It's because we really want it to be good, a Silver Surfer episode. Just give us one.
It would make as much sense. Like, it did. Like Silver Samurai having this like does not really make sense in this episode, and running this gang and being like, he's like the honorable choice, which is pretty strange. Like, he's an honorable like magic samurai ghost who runs a 50s motorcycle gang.
And who's just basically running a protection racket on this entire village and like forcing them to pay tribute so that he doesn't like trash the place. And they show up, and kind of the gang shows up without Silver Samurai, and like starts hassling the elder for this money when the brother steps in. But Silver Samurai steps in and was like, no, we're not going to hurt this kid. We're not going to, endanger them. We're just going to burn down most of the village.
Yeah, he says you'll give us double the money tomorrow.
Oh yeah, and also you owe us twice as much.
Yeah, in one day. So and so it burns down the temple to show him a lesson because he's like a classic, like he's like a gangster. You know, I did not know that he was like a Yakuza figure, but kind of weird. So Wolverine saves the Master, like runs into the burning temple in order to save him. There,
yeah, and just calling out what the good animation when it's there, like this weird red screen effect that they have while he goes into the burning building is actually it's really like it works. Like it makes me feel like everybody is on fire in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pretty intense. And so this girl, like his single serving girlfriend he has for this episode is like, hey, you need to help us. And he's just saying like, no, I'm not. That's not me anymore. I came here to do chores. I didn't come here to fight 50s gangsters.
Yeah, she tracks him down at the beach where he's just being morose. Like when Wolverine wants to be alone, he just goes to the edge of whatever land that he is on to go stare out of it. It really cracks me up. This is where Jubilee shows up in town and starts like actively looking for Wolverine and doing that really, really dumb, like, oh, you can't understand English? Well, let me yell it at you at a louder volume so you can understand it.
Wolverine!
Which is not great. And then we go to Silver Samurai, who's basically like running down his protection racket gang on these, like he's like teaching like young mafia kids how to do crime. It's really bizarre.
Yeah, I don't really get it as a thing. It is extremely silly,
but not as silly as our next montage, because the brother who, again, I don't remember his name, but the brother who wants to fight back and not just pay this tribute kind of taunts Wolverine into helping them, and then also convinces a lot of the villagers to help them. And then we see them doing like just the craziest shit. Like they're chopping up logs. They've got air balloons. They're making a dam of a river. Like
I think that the idea is they're like making traps or what have you.
Yeah.
Or rebuilding.
They're definitely making traps because these are all traps that they're about to use, but they made a dam in like 4 hours. They have logs floating on balloons.
It is like the traps that they make definitely don't. I mean, I wonder if those are things that like they actually did in ancient Japan. Not that excuses this show that takes place in 1995, mind you. But I wonder if like the log on a balloon is a thing.
I don't even know how to Google that without getting into some weird pornography.
I have no idea. So Wolverine helps him do that, but he's unsure whether to help them in the fight. And the Master says like, hey, you have to look at yourself through new eyes, which is the same thing Nightcrawler said. Or in the mirror. So that's the goofiness thing. And at that night, he does another flashback to his origin story, to Weapon X stuff. Which we've seen, you got in the notes as the 27th time we've seen this. And it happens all the time in this cartoon. Pretty boring, but essentially, like, the lesson here is that, like, he's good at violence and he should do it, I guess. Like, because he realizes, like, oh, you know, that's my origin, that's what I'm made for, like, I do need to protect these people. So if there's anything to an arc to this, that's what it is. It's like, Wolverine is good at protecting people. It doesn't matter that he has to murder people and it fires up his berserker rage. He should still do it. Pretty weird.
Again, I'm kind of into the idea of a therapy ray at this point. Like it would just help Wolverine out. Go to Moira's place, let her shock you for like 10 hours, and then you'll feel fine afterwards. So at this point, our bad motorcycle gang shows up. And then this is like Home Alone 5 Asia edition, where like they get knocked over by like some swinging logs that they've set up. They've dug a hole. The villagers have dug a hole, and some of them fall into it, and some kids drop a bunch of fish on them.
Yeah. The fish are on Cameo from Alaska or whatever. Yeah, so they're really pranking these gangsters.
They some of the gang gets to the village and gets flooded when they break open this dam, and then all of the villagers point and laugh at them because now they're wet and I guess ineffectual when wet. Like I don't
like it is very like prank like what they're doing.
So strange.
like we'll turn, you know, the damp boys are at it again. and Jubilee shows up and she's dunking on them too. So like this whole thing that we have to accept that Silver Samurai is like this, crime lord is too strong a word, but like this, organized crime guy, but he's terrible at it. And like his gang are only able to terrorize this village. They don't even need Wolverine or Jubilee. It's just like, they won't fight back. I guess that's the message they're trying to send about bullies, but like they could not be more incompetent here. So as the gang is losing, the Silver Samurai shows up to fight Wolverine, and Silver Samurai at this point just teleports. That is his power.
Okay.
Right? And like the fight, I remember there being a thing where like he just says like, well, I'll try that to give that to your, to your own size, and like runs behind Silver Samurai, or lets Silver Samurai teleport in front of him and attacks him from behind.
Yeah, he kind of does
very short,
like a flip thing where like he knows he's going to be teleporting behind him, so he does a bat flip, and then he's behind the Silver Samurai or whatever. So yeah, and attacks Silver Samurai, which causes Silver Samurai to just up and leave. Again, the theme with these two episodes of villains getting bored and deciding they just don't want to deal with the X-Men anymore. Well, in this one, it's especially special because like after these two dudes with giant swords and like knives don't cut each other at all, but just kind of beat each other down, Silver Samurai is on the ground, and like all of the villagers just make fun of him, like, "Oh God, we used to be afraid of you, and now you suck." And then he just like hunches his shoulders and walks out of town. It's so good. Maybe next time you run into Magneto, you could just tell him he has a tiny dick and see if he just turns around and leaves. I heard that dude fucks cows.
Very well. Just turns around.
And then this is pretty much it. We missed the part where the brother throws like a spear at one of the motorcycle guys, and it causes the guy to fall ass over tea kettle into like a pig pen full of mud, and then the pig comes over and kisses him. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's really good.
Again, just that amuses me. Yeah, just a lot of goofs.
Yeah. Yeah. And Wolverine says, "You know what? I guess I'm here to protect people. I'm not here to do chores, so I gotta go." And then Wolverine kind of talks to him on his way back to the mansion, and the episode just kind of ends.
Yeah, Jubilee just does not shut up. Like, did you see that girl? I think she kind of likes you. Blah, 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 blah.
Does he kiss her? Does he kiss the
not
pocket
at all.
Serving girlfriend? I can remember. There's definitely some kind of like weird attraction there, though, and like Wolverine is like 120, and she's all of 20, so it's pretty fucked up.
I mean, like at a certain point, like who's in Wolverine's dating pool? Like,
I don't know, like other immortals, Bova,
Oh God, yeah, 'cause cows do live an exceptionally long time, right? Maybe that's
does Bova doesn't look like she's. Bova is at least like 40 years older when we see her than she was when she was the midwife for. Also, midwives nurse, right? So is that the implication that is she a midwife because she's got like 8 cow nipples and
wet nurse would be the actual nurse.
Oh, thank you.
The midwife.
It's like a doula. Like she was just like a coach.
Yeah. Like if you watch that Call the Midwife show on BBC, like that's what that's all about. Where those people, like when they first got nationalized healthcare, like we're going into people's homes and helping them have babies, because like if you just try to have a baby at your house in your filthy home, like it's not going to go very well. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's extremely weird that like no lessons were learned and everything just gets reset.
Yeah, this is very bad, and Wolverine just goes home. I don't know. I know I've watched the next 5 episodes, and we haven't dealt with Wolverine being weird, like weirder than normal. So I guess this worked. I guess going here and getting into this stupid fight is the thing that he really needed to help himself.
I don't know. I don't feel like I understand like the lesson that this is trying to teach me, like whatsoever.
Don't fight bullies, except do definitely fight bullies.
Yeah, except do fight bullies, but fight them in like fight them in a goofy, charming manner if they're just teens.
Yeah.
You know, like the fact that everything here is teens, like the love interest, the antagonist, like really puts, I know Wolverine just coming through as this 120-year-old man, like just beating the shit out of these teens. Like it's a little weird.
And rigging up complicated hot air balloon systems full of logs to drop on.
Log pranks. What a dumb couple episodes of this cartoon.
Yeah, this is isn't our lowest point, because I don't think that they were necessarily like there is still like funny stuff to laugh at. Like again, that the whole montage scene of them trying to build a bunch of Home Alone traps for their motorcycle gang. It's just too funny.
The real low point is those 2 episodes with Lady Deathstrike in the sewer.
Oh yeah,
the prequels to the Phoenix Saga stuff. I think that's as bad as the show has gotten. These are not that bad, but they are not good either. There's funny stuff. Like I'm glad that we talked about them, but Jesus Christ, you gotta chill this shit out.
You do, yeah, you really do. Luckily, our next episode of the podcast, we have one great episode, which is going to be "Have Yourself a More Like Little Christmas."
And we're just covering that. That's the Christmas special because there's so much to talk about. We have I was bemoaning the lack of like a script for it, and Jeremy found like kind of a script, but it doesn't say who's saying anything.
Yeah, it's just a list of everyone's lines without
it's just a list of all the lines.
Yeah. Which honestly, I think it's going to be a fun game. Like I want to throw these at you and see if you can guess who said it. I'm not going to know if they're right.
That is fun. I want to memorize this thing as a monologue so I can apply for high school forensics team. Because like I'll be doing the monologue from X-Men the animated series, season 4, episode 12. Have Yourself a More Like Little Christmas.
That's a real Michael Scott move right there.
That'd be incredible. Like I need to memorize this thing. It's very long, but like, can you imagine if I could just recite this episode from memory?
Gary,
Letterman.
Gary, there's only so much time you have left in the world. Do something better.
Yeah. Oh man.
Well, thank you everybody for listening to this podcast. If you'd like to support the show, the most direct way that you can do that is by going to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv and pledging a couple of bucks a month. You get lots of cool rewards and it helps us build a network and do more shows. This show wouldn't have existed without some kind people donating to the Patreon and getting it funded, which, that's a cool thing. So thank you for that. And that's a cool place to be in general.
I think so as well. In addition, you can rate and review the show. You can tell your friends. That is very useful. We have, at the time, what time does this episode come out? Do you know, Jeremy, what day this will come out?
Do give me 1 second. This will come out on December 2nd.
Excellent. At the time this comes out, it is, especially on early release, you have plenty of time. It is about a week or so before our Duck stream that we're doing, which is on December 8th through December 10th this year. So our charity live stream for the Transactive Gender Center, during which, and I think early on Friday, just so you don't have to stay up too late, Jeremy, I think we might kick off with a little bit of multiplayer and then do a live episode of this show. So my plan is to do one of the movies, I think, and then we'll talk about it. We'll just kind of do that live, and then I'm going to have whatever voice samples you do, and then I'm going to show the intro song process as well during that live stream for a half hour or so.
That'll be super cool.
Just because, some people have expressed interest in how that works. There's not there's any kind of secret to it, but I'm gonna do that. Among other things, I did the programming, kind of made a schedule last night, and we had 24 hours of pretty cool stuff in the Portland wing for sure. So, and then Cole's going to play fucking Clock Tower or something. So, whatever he does.
Hey, at least you guys are like Twitch partners now, so you can get like bits thrown at you or whatever the fuck Twitch is doing nowadays.
You, like ding dongs are now floof knobs. You know? it's the internet. I don't know what it is, and I was just kidding about Cole's survival horror stream during Duck Stream. Like I like that. People like that, and I like that, and I would watch it if I hadn't just stayed up 24 hours beforehand.
Sure.
So I was just teasing. But we do have a lot of stuff planned. I'm sure Cole has a lot of stuff planned, and we'll have probably similar to last time, some kind of community. Somebody will probably do a Cole relief NAP shift as well. So all those details are forthcoming. Cole and I have it on the docket to talk about it tomorrow. So
last year was me and Allison, and for my 2-hour shift, I played my A team in Darkest Dungeon. And got to the siren and completely wiped, and that ended the stream. And I literally did not play Darkest Dungeon again until it came out on iPad because I was so sick about it.
Such a bummer. Look forward to such bummers and highs and lows and all kinds of goofy things. So we're figuring it all out. But that information will be on social media, and we'd love it if you tuned in on December 8th and told people about it. Signal boosted. things like that. I think that's probably about it.
Yeah. Go to daysoffuturecast.com to get a schedule of all the shows and or all of the episodes and if you're watching along. Go to DOFC Podcast on Twitter if you want to talk to us on Twitter about the X-Men. Some people have been doing that, and it's really fun. I'm at JG Greer on Twitter if you want to come talk to me directly.
Yeah, and I'm Gary Buh, GARYBUH.
And we'll be back in 2 weeks with the Christmas episode.
Indeed.